I gave Chip a lot of leeway because he's got an extraordinary background in history, and he had such a phenomenal season coming out of Ohio State last year that we wanted to, give him his due and all that. But as we continued to grow and come together, it just we just couldn't get there. So I wish him the very best, and I like him, and we got along great and all that, but we had to make a tough call.
And that was Pete Carroll today at Raiders practice facility, talking about the firing and the reasons behind the firing of offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, just 11 games into a 3-year contract that was paying him $6 million a year. That's the highest paid salary for an assistant coach. We're going to get all into it. First of all, thank you and welcome to Vegas Nation. First and 10 brought to you by Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos, STN Sports. I'm Vinny Bonsignore. I cover the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Vegas Nation. And Adam Hill, my great friend and colleague, also covers the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Vegas Nation, joins me as usual. We're doing it from Zoom today. We had to kind of adjust a little bit on the fly, but here we are. We felt like we needed to do another podcast off the heels last night of the actual firing. And then today, getting a little bit of background on why it happened, who's going to replace Chip Kelly. That's going to be a familiar face, Greg Olson, in his third go around, his Raiders offensive coordinator. We'll get into all of that in just 1 second, but let's take some back steps here, Adam. Listening to Pete Carroll talk about the reasons for this, and I'm going to just cut right to the chase. He and Chip Kelly just weren't seeing eye to eye how to proceed. I think there's deficiencies on this football team that Pete Carroll understands. He made that pretty clear in how he described working with what they have to work with along the offensive line. He feels there's a better way to go about it. One of those ways is to run the ball, and there's different ways that he wants to block up the pass, rush. It doesn't sound like Chip Kelly was necessarily on board with what Pete wanted to do, and they gave it a chance. It didn't work. It was getting worse. Your initial thoughts on Pete Carroll and kind of how he was describing how he tried to find common ground with Chip Kelly, kind of paraphrasing here a little bit, but that's the gist of it, but was not able to get it there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear that there was issues. We talked about it for the last several weeks. Some of the answers that were given by each of the press conferences were kind of, directly either contradicting or, almost straight up going after the other one in a very subtle, very professional way. But you saw they
both stood their ground.
Yeah, you saw the cracks, I would think, in the relationship without question. And behind the scenes, heard it was frosty, maybe at times too. So
I heard they haven't been talking for a while.
Yeah, and so it's not surprising. I don't think it's unwarranted. The fact that Chip Kelly's been fired, the offense stinks. It's not good. The offensive coordinator should pay the price. Now, should the offensive line coach also pay the price? Probably. It's not going to happen, right? So if there's
the offensive line coach is Brendan Carroll. He's the son of Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll's son, right? So hey, if there's issues on the offensive line, fire the offensive coordinator. And I mean, in the end, that's his responsibility. It's under his purview. It's got to be better, but it's not just the offensive line either. The entire offense has been bad. The game planning hasn't been great. The finding ways to utilize the talent that they do have hasn't really been there. The consistency of play calls, all those things haven't been there without question. No doubt about it. There could be certainly a difference of opinion of who should be playing. That could be between the front office, between Pete Carroll, and between Chip Kelly as well. All those things are out there. All the things are part of it. There wasn't one reason. So when Pete Carroll talks about why this happened or the timing, it's not one thing. There wasn't one really bad play call in a game, and you're like, hey, that was it. We couldn't do that anymore. It was just a building up of everything over time, and the frustration of a 2-9 season, and not living up to expectations. And Pete Carroll said he's never been in this position before. So what do? You try to make some changes and try to get better from it. But it's not going to make the Raiders instantly better. They're not going to be a much better team because of this. But when a season is going the way that the Raiders season is going, these things have to happen.
Yeah, they do, unless you just truly believe that, look, this is a personnel issue. We have the right people in place. Now we just have to go get the right talent. I've seen that before. There's definitely organizations that problem solve without resorting to firing people. But I think in this case, it was just non-tenable with Chip and Pete. I just don't think
Yeah.
that they were going to be able to coexist, and not just for the rest of this year, to however long Pete's going to be here. And we'll get into that a little bit,
Yeah.
because there's no guarantee that he's not on shaky ground right now. And I'll get into why in just one second. But even if he is here, basically he's saying, I don't want you here even when we do get talent, because I don't feel like we're ever going to be able to see eye to eye on that. But it remains to be seen how much longer Pete Carroll is going to be here. Let's take a couple more back steps again and talk about Brendan Carroll and the offensive line. Pete made it clear, at least from his perception, and who knows, this could be flat out just making excuses and pointing fingers and trying to buy himself some time and absolve himself of some culpability and responsibility, and maybe his son as well. But he made it pretty clear that, and I wrote about this in my article, you can go check it out at Vegas Station. Look, when you go and entice somebody to leave a great job, as Chip Kelly had at Ohio State, to come fix your offense by offering him the most money that any assistant coach is getting in the NFL, $6 million a year, it comes with some provisions. And one of the provisions was, you're going to have carte blanche to run this offense. And to the extent that Pete Carroll could, say, hey, this is kind of how I want to see it. This is what I'd like us to be about. These are the things that I want to stand for. The fact of the matter is, when you pay somebody that kind of money and entice them to come to your program from a great program like Ohio State, it goes without saying, even though I'm sure it was said, Adam, you've got control of the offense. And I'm going to trust you, just like in a lot of ways Norm Chow had control of the offense with USC, and Pete oversaw things and had a heavy influence on the defense, which he does here with the Raiders. Now, whether that was Pete's call or the Raiders telling Pete, this is what we want you to do, the fact of the matter is Chip was going to have final say in a lot of things. Now, I would. Do you agree with that? First of all, that premise.
Well, first of all, I want to jump in because I want to take umbrage with your, Ohio State is a great program. Like, settle down. As somebody from Ann Arbor, I can't allow that to go unchecked, even though, sure, they've had some success.
They're the reigning champions.
Sure, there's some success recently. NIL has been very good to Ohio State. Let's just say that. But yeah, to your point about how it pertains to the Raiders, yeah, I think that would be true. And it's one of the reasons I thought it was very interesting with rumors and things going back and forth of disconnect and discord and all those things, that we heard Pete Carroll last week say he had a, quote, influence on the game plan, which, that was during the Cowboys game. It was after the Cowboys game he said that. And it kind of jumped out at me. Like, okay, like, does that mean you haven't at all before, which he probably hasn't? And how did Chip take that? Because there are some things I know about Chip Kelly. One of them is, hey, defensive guy, leave me alone.
Correct.
I think that would be.
That's what you sign up for when you make him the highest paid offensive coordinator.
For sure. And so that, to me, that kind of confirmed everything else that we've been hearing about what was going on with them, of Pete Carroll just jumping in and saying, yeah, I had influence over the game plan this week. That was kind of jarring and kind of a seminal moment maybe in how we got to this point.
Yeah. And here's the thing about that, Adam. Let's just go on the premise that that's exactly how it went down. And Pete had been backing off and was, just gave an overview on what he wanted what the offense to look like, but left it largely in Chip Kelly's hands to then go take that to fruition, right, and make that a reality. Whatever ill will that Pete Carroll was feeling about the direction of this offense and what Pete Carroll was doing, and so the decisions that he was making. As the weeks went on, his pile of evidence, Pete Carroll's pile of evidence, kept building, and to the point where he could then say, "Look, it's not working with what you're doing. Let's try this way, right?" So, which I think is what he did in that Dallas Cowboys situation. And I would imagine that rubbed Chip Kelly the wrong way, right? I would imagine that happened. But then it got to the point where it got 10 sacks. And obviously Pete wasn't seeing what he wanted to see. The changes that he was asking for weren't made, and it not only didn't get better, it got worse. And so
it got to a point. I was looking at the plays, and I know there was some national attention drawn to a play last night because Mina Kimes' national personality is a big Seahawks fan who's followed that team for a long time. And
Yep.
she had posted about a play where they just left Stone Forsythe on an island to try to block Myles Garrett, and Myles Garrett just completely destroyed him and got a sack. Somebody said to me today, that rep right there is probably going to put Stone Forsythe in the Hall of Fame because he's going to be on Myles Garrett's
Yeah.
video when he's inducted because he just abused him. And like my immediate thought wasn't, oh man, that was a bad rep for Stone Forsythe. My immediate thought was Chip Kelly did that on purpose to show up Pete Carroll's guy. Like that's my immediate thought. Now, did he? I don't think
Come
so.
on.
No,
I just think that.
What I'm
Yeah.
saying is I don't think that's what happened.
Yeah.
But that's the first thing that crossed my mind, right? I was like, I wonder if that's what happened here. Like that.
Yeah. Gotcha.
That's where the that's how far the disconnect had gone in my mind. That everything to me was like skeptical of like what was the point of this?
No, it was definitely
So this had to happen, right? Like I know people wanted Pete Carroll to get fired today. Like it probably wasn't going to happen. Like, and I'm sure people are thrilled right now that Chip Kelly's losing his job. I'm never really happy when somebody loses their job, but he'll be fine. Trust me, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He'll get another job and he's getting rewarded financially. But something had to happen, and this is what happened. And so, was it the only move that could be made? No, but it was the easiest one to make a direct, significant impact, and one that I think is going to at least somewhat help in terms of chemistry inside the building.
Yeah. Now, whether that leads to success on the field, that remains to be seen. And I'm quite honestly dubious about that. But
and I think just to jump in and just say one thing that I have heard from people around the league, and I think everybody that covers this team or has been around the team has heard some version of this said, that Chip Kelly is the best offensive coordinator in the history of the NFL. Just ask him. Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have heard some version of that. That's the way that it was told to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that kind of personality, sometimes removing them from the equation, even if they're not the only problem, can fix other problems too.
Correct. And he casts a pretty dominating shadow and presence in your building. And just ask him, and he'll tell you why he should. But it was funny because I got a text late last night from somebody in the NFL, and I'm sure Adam can attest to this, but it's funny how the gloves come off and the real talk happens. And trust me, there's a lot of what talking in situations like this, especially when it comes to somebody that isn't exactly well liked. But one of the comments that I got from somebody who is high up on another team was like, maybe it's not a good idea to give $6 million to a coach who NFL offense has passed him by. Now I don't know if that's I'm not, I guess, astute enough to know whether or not the game has passed Chip Kelly by, but at least based on the results, and if that was his plan to block Myles Garrett last night, singular, and it wasn't just one time, there were a couple of times where they left him either unblocked or just out there on an island with somebody that he was far more superior to. That's just head scratching to me.
Yeah, it's again that's another reason I was like, seemed intentional, but that's not what I actually believe, but that's the way it made it seem, and
the fact that it even crossed your mind.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's part of it. So it was, look, again, I think it's not a saving move. It's not, Greg Olsen is not going to come in here and all of a sudden, turn this offense into the, greatest show on turf Rams. Like that's not going to happen. But
competency would be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and to your point about Chip Kelly's offense, I know there's been some breakdowns of things, and former Raider Richie Incognito has been really on a rampage the last couple of weeks, ripping on it. Part of it is just the simple things like the width of the hash marks and how his offense doesn't work in the NFL because of the width of the hash marks compared to the width of the hash marks in college, where his offense works a lot better and he doesn't adjust based on that, like those sorts of things. I mean, and that is the kind of thing, like I do think Chip Kelly is a very, very smart person.
Sure.
But sometimes intelligence is a detriment, right? Where you're like, I'm smarter than everybody else, and
Yeah.
not going to listen to anything. So,
Fortunately, I never had that. I mean, unfortunately, I never had that issue. So,
yeah,
because I was never smart enough to even think
fair.
along those lines.
Yeah.
All right. So, real quickly, and we'll get out of here on this thought. Greg Olson, obviously now the play caller. This is the third time he'll be doing that for the Raiders. I'm going to pose this question to you. If this doesn't get any better, and I'm, again, dubious that it'll have any discernible impact on how much better the Raiders do, it might look a little bit different, and maybe there'll be a little bit of positivity out of it. But are we just biding our time now until this thing comes fully crashing down? I mean, it's a special teams coordinator gone, offensive coordinator, gone. Is this just the delaying the inevitable? Like, now it's your turn and no more excuses. And if it doesn't get to turn around, the finger's going to be pointed squarely at Pete Carroll.
Well, I mean, I think the finger already will be, no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, look, what is their ceiling? They have some tough games coming up that they probably can't win. Could they steal a game or two? Sure, but this team is not going to be in the playoffs. This team is not going to be 500. This team's not going to be anywhere close to that. It's going to be one of the top 5 teams picking the draft, most likely. That's not what the plan was. It's not what was talked about before the year. So there's going to be a lot of questions to answer and a lot of fingers to be pointed in this offseason. And will they appoint a Pete Carroll? Possibly. Like, I'm sure part of this, changing on special teams, changing on offense, part of it will be, hey, look, we turned it around and had a pretty good last 4 or 5 games of the year. That's something to build on. That's a reason to bring us back. Like, that's probably the hope that's going on. Even if they don't win games, it's that they're, move the ball more competitively. They score more points. They're in games, like those sorts of things, and you can sell that. But I think the case is going to have to be made by Pete Carroll to keep him around, more so than the other way around. Like, I think it's going to be, him kind of saying why he thinks he deserves another chance, and I think that's going to have to be answered to the organization in order to bring him back.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we will be here.
And he had another. Sorry to cut you off. He had another comment. I was going to bring it up.
Yeah.
It was when he was talking to the broadcasters, and I saw this on Twitter, so I don't want to dig too deep into it. But he pointed out, but it's something he said to us, but he said it more directly, that he wanted to get the young players involved, but that's not necessarily how you win games. And like he said these things to us more indirectly than that. But what games are you winning?
I know. Exactly.
Like,
it's like you're not.
What does that
I can
mean?
see if you were winning, but you're not winning. So you're just wasting time.
Right. I don't understand. I don't even understand what that means. Like, you're not winning.
I know. No, I understand it to a point, but when you follow it, when you go all the way through and say, but you're not winning games,
right,
then what are you achieving? Like you're forgetting the part about the actual winning.
Yeah.
It may not be, so, and which is the key part.
And I know coaches don't talk like this. We do, but that's fine. But like, winning games is the enemy right now.
Yeah, it
just is.
Yeah.
Like, you need a high draft pick. You need to be picking early on. You're in a rebuild.
Right.
You need to work on draft picks. And if you think that those guys aren't going to help you win, so be it. Like, see what you have. Do you have something there that you can use for next year? Are they part of the plans going forward?
There's value in that.
Yeah, and by the way, if they don't help you win, if they make you 1 or 2 points worse, fine.
Now you know. You'd rather know now.
Yeah.
You would rather know one way or another now. But hey, we'll keep beating that drum, and we'll see. I'm really curious to see what the offensive line looks like, and if maybe Chip Kelly was the driving force behind some of those weird decisions with the offensive line. We're going to let you go on that note. I want to say thanks to Dominic Lavoie, who was gracious enough to work a little bit of extra time so that we could sneak this podcast in. I want to say thanks to the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports for all their support. I want to thank to all of our listeners, all of our readers, all of our fans, I guess, and Raider fans, Raider Nation, for all of your support. We truly appreciate it. Keep up the faith. We'll see you at some point again this week as the Raiders get ready for their game against the Chargers in Los Angeles. And of course, we'll be in Los Angeles doing our post-game podcast on Vegas Nation First and 10. Thank you for the support, and we'll check you guys out next time.